Hello, friends. Welcome to Nirmal Bang. I'm Piyush Jain, and today we are going to be discussing a company which is bringing out its IPO very soon, going to get listed. The name of the company is GPT Healthcare Limited, and joining us on the show today is management, Mr. Anurag Tantia, director of the company, and also Mr. Atul Tantia, the group CFO of the company. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
So let's start first about the company, what it does, and how has been the journey. As per our understanding goes, it's into the healthcare sector, and you are actually providing a secondary and tertiary care, almost 500 plus beds, for hospitals. Help us understand about the journey and also about the company.
Sure. So we started this business in July of 2000, primarily for workplace for Dr. Om Tantia. Dr. Om Tantia is one of the promoters of the company and Anurag's father. He's a senior laparoscopic surgeon and a pediatric and a robotic surgeon as well. So we started with an 8-bed facility for him in July of 2000. The company is promoted by Mr. D.B. Tantia, my father, Dr. Om Tantia, and Mr. S.G. Tantia, the three brothers. They have promoted this company and the GPT group. In, that hospital was almost profitable, I would say, from the get-go, and it grew to an 85-bed facility over the years to from its own internal accruals. We never took on any debt. In 2008-9, we were invited to set up a hospital in Tripura, in Agartala, in the northeast. That hospital we set up in October of 2011 and commissioned in 2011. It was on an invitation from the government of Tripura because there was no corporate healthcare in the entire state. They wanted a referral hospital because a lot of their patients were coming to the mainland in terms of Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai, Vellore, etc. So we set up a 205-bed facility in the state, the only corporate healthcare hospital in the entire state till date over the last 12 years or 13 odd years. And it's a 205-bed facility with its own residential complex, its own nursing school, nursing college as well. In 2013, we set up a hospital in Dumdum in North Calcutta near the Calcutta airport. This was a smaller setup than Agartala, but it was a neighborhood tertiary care setup. So we thought that we found that there was a lot of dearth of good hospitals in your neighborhood. So people were traveling far away, about 45 minutes to an hour away from their homes to get to good corporate healthcare. And in India, it is such that if you're going to a hospital, it's just not that you are going, your friends, family, relatives also come and visit you. And if a hospital chain or a good hospital can offer the full bouquet of services with excellent quality care in the neighborhood, people would tend to prefer you compared to a hospital that is far, about a 45-minute drive away. Because you also lose that golden period in cases of emergencies as well. That hospital started in March 2013, and within 10 months, did a month-on-month EBITDA break-even. So we
Oh,
were
that's very commendable. Like both hospitals got break-even very fast. Please carry on.
yeah. So that kind of gave the management confidence on this neighborhood model. Having said that, in November 2014, Banian Tree Growth Capital, which is a private equity fund, they entered the business because two new hospitals had come up at that time, and we wanted to delever the balance sheet as well as have some liquidity in terms of future growth as well. So we used those proceeds to deleverage the balance sheet partly and also to buy the land for a new hospital in Havra. Havra, as you and your viewers might be aware, is a twin city of Calcutta, the famous Havra railway station. So we bought that land in 2016-17, and that hospital started in October 2000, July 2019, just prior to the pandemic. During the pandemic, it functioned as a level 4 COVID hospital for the state of West Bengal for 2.5 years. Last year was the first full year of operation for that hospital. That hospital, in fact, broke even much faster than the Dumdum hospital in 8 months, which is kind of unheard for the industry. The
Yeah,
industry,
absolutely.
in the industry, if you talk to many of our peers, they would normally say that a private corporate healthcare would take almost 2.5, 3 years to do a month-on-month EBITDA break-even.
Yes.
This so this kind of ensured that the management became confident of this model, and we then took it from there. Today, these hospitals are running at good capacity. So two of our hospitals, as in Dumdum and Salt Lake, are more mature assets, I would say. Agartala and the Havra hospitals are still ramping up. So the Dumdum hospital is almost at 80-85% capacity utilization. Lake
Okay.
is at almost 70-75% capacity utilization. Agartala is close to 60% capacity utilization, whereas Havra is about 45 to 50% capacity utilization. At the network level, we are almost at 60% capacity utilization. In
Right. And
terms of
how much bedded is Havra Hospital?
116 beds,
Okay, sir. And then
so
total bed is somewhere around 550, sir, right?
561 beds.
Right. So okay, that's almost 20 to 20%. Okay.
Correct.
Please carry on.
So the management has had a strong focus on the margins as well as ensuring that the RPOB would be in check. So we do not believe to aspire to become I would say, only address the affluent class of the society. We tend to address the middle to high income of the society because that is a strata of the society that aspires for good quality healthcare. And
Hmm.
Eastern India especially doesn't have good corporate healthcare. We have only 14 beds per 10,000 compared to a Bombay or western part or northern or southern part having close to 40 beds per 10,000. This shows the dearth of corporate healthcare in this market, and we have that's why grown in this part as well. The brand name is also quite popular here, and we intend to grow from here as well. In terms of return ratios and margins, uh, so due to despite the ARPOB being on the lower side compared to the national chains at almost 32 or 1,000, whereas the
Hmm.
national chains are almost at 50,000 plus, we are able to keep the margins at north of 22.5%.
Hmm.
This is because we have a tight control on the costs. We have a lot of SOPs developed. We use SAP at the back end, front end. There's an HMIS. We use a lot of technological tools to ensure that our margins are in check. And also due to the neighborhood nature of our hospital, we don't spend much on marketing and advertisement costs per se. They are much. I would say about 200 to 250 basis points less compared to many of our peers.
And
This
that's the I'm just jumping in between that you are saying about the EBITDA margins, right? When you're saying 21%,
correct. 22.5%.
21 and a half, and because I was seeing the net profit
22.5%.
margins are like 10.
20.5%, and net profit margin is close to 11.5%.
Sure,
That
sure. Okay,
and
understood.
and because of this neighborhood model, a lot of our payers, a lot of our patients come from the neighborhood. So cash and insurance is almost 95% of the business. So we don't need to rely on these government schemes and corporate tie-ups, which ensures our cash flow to EBITDA is north of 80%
Okay.
and one of the highest for the industry. And this also leads to better ROE and ROC as well, which is north of 25%.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. From the perspective of the leverage, how much debt is on the balance sheet right now?
Gross debt on the balance sheet is about 46 crores, and we have 38 crores sitting on the balance sheet in terms of for the growth plans that we do have,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll talk about later. Used to reduce the gross, and the balance 16 crores would also be repaid, which has a repayment schedule and will be repaid over the next 12 to 15 months. So we'll become
Okay.
gross debt free with about 38 to 40 crores sitting on the balance sheet.
Okay, that's interesting. And you have been reducing debt again over the last couple of quarters. That actually we have noticed. From that perspective, what is the blended cost of debt right now?
Blended cost of debt is close to 8%.
Oh, that's very competitive.
We
And then
are we
also
are
actually,
we are A minus rated by CRISIL, and the banks are offering that rate at almost 8%.
right. And now let me come to Anuragji. Anuragji, basically, so you have hospitals, you have utilizations, and then also actually we are talking about some good double-digit margins here. From that perspective, why listing at this stage? What was the reason? Like, is Bain actually looking for some partial or complete exit, or was it a time where you thought like it's good actually for getting a sort of more branding?
Sure. So we've had a private equity player on board in the form of Banian Tree since November 2014, as Atul said. It has been 9.5 years for them in the company, and now it's time for them to give them their exit. Their fund life is also over. With this in mind, we have thought of giving them the exit through the public route. The valuations are also good in the public route right now, and we thought this would be a good exit opportunity for them. Obviously, with the public market, we do get an advantage from a brand pervasiveness as well. And with our new hospitals coming in, that brand pervasiveness would also be good for us in the long run.
Yes, so that should be good for Banyan Tree also. I think I stand corrected. I think Banyan Tree basically is the existing investor in the company, so that should be good for them. Apart from that, we basically are also looking for some good incremental debt repayment of about 30 crores. Is that something which is a long-term loan perhaps, which is going to be repaid, or it's more about working capital?
We don't have any working capital outstanding loan. We have a standby limit with a bank that is
Mm-hmm.
hardly utilized because we work because of the nature of the payer mix. We work on a negative working capital cycle, so we don't draw down on our working capital loan. We hardly do it. In maybe I would say once or twice a year we do draw down on it, but that's currently also not utilized.
Okay, makes sense. Also, like coming back to Anuraji, like one data has been, and like either Atulji or Anuraji can answer this. I was looking at the data of revenue per inpatient data, and that largely basically has slightly tapered down. Nevertheless, from about if we talk about the sort of tapering down is not a great figure, like less than 10%, but it has tapered from 2021 to 2023. Is it largely because of COVID effect, and is this something which is a mature number which is happening right now?
So if you look at our RPOP aggregated has gone from almost the 25,000 mark to almost the 32,000 mark. There has not
Okay.
been any tapering from a per patient or per bed night revenue. In fact, it has increased. Going down the line also, we expect an incremental increase in the RPOP on account of inflation and on account of whatever product delivery we end up customizing. So there is a definite focus on increasing revenues through productivity and obviously correction of RPOP to an extent.
Right, but am I reading the number wrongly? Because average revenue per inpatient was roughly around, I would say, 116,776 in 2021. Then it dipped slightly to 103,000.
Correct.
Not a major concern, but those are the numbers actually which are being shown.
So that was on account of COVID. Generally, when the during COVID, patients would stay for a longer time period, because of which, if you look at a bill value, it has gone down. But if you look at a per bed night occupied, we have increased our
It has
business.
increased.
So
Okay,
in
that's
fact,
a
if
good
you
fact.
see that also kind of translates because earlier our ALOS, which is average length of stay, was
Sure.
close to 5.5. Now it has come down below 4.
Yes,
So
that also
that that
explains.
kind of- that also kind of explains that number because that is a per patient bill rather than a average revenue per bed on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Now, your revenue numbers, the revenue split suggests that diabetology, nephrology, also general surgery, those actually are the major sort of revenue drivers. Like, is there any major sort of classification or branding which your hospitals have? Like any major specialties where you drive your strength from?
So we don't believe in a particular specialty. It is quite well diversified. The top 10 specialties contribute almost 80-85% of the business volume.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, from day one, it is a full service hospital. So we offer the full bouquet to the entire neighborhood in terms of the services that we do offer. As the hospitals mature, one or two services for that particular hospital can become quaternary care services. For example, in our Dumdum facility, we do renal transplants. We do almost 15 renal transplants a month. In our
Okay.
Salt Lake facility, we do a lot of robotic surgeries. So we have done more than 200 surgeries in a year in the Salt Lake facility from surgical robot, which is one of the highest for any surgical robot in the country. If we are setting up radiation oncology setup in the Agartala hospital, which will be the only radiation oncology in the entire state. The state has a lot of cancer patients who need to come, who need to either go to Guwahati or come to Calcutta, Bombay, Chennai, Vellore again to get their radiation therapy done, which is an undesirable thing in the long term. So we are that radiation oncology setup will also be commissioned in the next 3 to 4 months.
Okay. And also a word from the perspective of cost of operation trend. Your third party cost, which again as a percentage of total expense, that basically has been coming down gradually. Is it something which is economies of scale, or you have been able to actually derive some sort of benefits? Like, help us understand that also.
So third-party cost, honestly, during COVID, there were a lot of tests that were outsourced, some special
Okay.
tests that were outsourced for 2021-22, which are no longer there. And most of the tests that are routine and which we cater to are done in-house only. We have a central lab in the Dumdum facility, which caters to the three hospitals in the city. Obviously, it has its own lab. So third-party tests have come down. That has led to the third-party services coming down over the last couple of years.
Sure. As we move toward the last question, always from a perspective of whether it's a hospital, you actually then start imagining where from here. You've already actually reached 4 hospitals. Is this something where you're planning to add more hospitals? If yes, is it same geography or you're looking for geographic expansion?
So we are focused on the Eastern market. Eastern market is a market where we have significant amount of brand name, and at the same time, the Eastern India market is an underpenetrated market from a healthcare perspective. There are only 13 to 14 beds per 10,000 population compared to the West, North, and South having much higher, almost at the range of 40 beds per 10,000.
Mhm.
Uh, from an expansion point of view, we are coming up with two more hospitals at this point. One is in Raipur, which is going to be 150 beds in the heart of the city. This should be commissioned later this calendar year. And the second hospital is in Ranchi. Again, that will follow a similar model of being a neighborhood hospital in the heart of the city, which should be commissioned by FY27. Apart from this, we are also on the lookout for other facilities in larger eastern cities like Guwahati, Patna, Jamshedpur, Banaras, also, in fact, where we can expand our presence going forward.
So again, the Raipur one also is a 150 bed.
Raipur will be also 150 beds.
So, and
Raipur and
that
Ranchi both are the 150 bed.
sure, I'm just recollecting, and also Raipur bed is going to get commissioned in this financial year, which is like FY25.
It
Correct.
should, yes.
Oh, so which in effect is actually going to add almost 300 bed capacity to your 550 bed capacity.
No. It will add 300 beds. Ranchi will get commissioned in FY27 and Raipur in FY25. So it'll add 300 beds in the next 3 years, not next financial year.
So 150 beds in FY25, another 150 in FY27, and that actually
Correct.
together adds up your beds. But what is important and which our viewers should take note of is that actually you are actually seeing almost 30% increase in the bed capacity in FY25. Ramping up perhaps could take time, but yes, that is something which perhaps should be very interesting to watch out for. But looks like a great story. Just one word, Atulji, before we wrap it up. Um, Give us a color on the return on capital employed and ROE figures, which actually, as a trend, how they've been doing.
Sure. So due to the hospitals, how we have set it up, and like I said earlier, due to the EBITDA break-even being much faster, our return ratios have been quite, I would say, good compared to the industry and overall for the market as well. We are currently tracking at almost 25% plus, both in terms of ROE and ROCE as well. The board also has a formal dividend policy which says that up to 30% will be paid out as dividend every year. So the investors are rewarded in terms of the performance of the company, and that dividend policy will also be followed upon post listing as well.
Post listing, perhaps I'll leave that question later, but that would be interesting, I think, to watch out for whether the dividend happens or buyback happens. But I think we'll leave that for post listing, and we'll actually ask you when we get in touch with you again post results. But for now, thanks a lot for coming on our show and giving us all the insights about the company. Looks like a great story, great revenue expansion, strong margins, strong return ratios, and perhaps a story to watch out for.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
And dear viewers, hope you enjoyed this conversation. For now, it's a wrap on the show.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to never miss an update from Nirmal Bang.